It says here, the average cost of raising a family of 4, remember the Smith family is a family of 4, they have 2 kids, is $4,200 without housing. Are you hearing me? Without housing. All right, so renting a family-friendly apartment in cities like Toronto costs what, $3,000 per month. A family in Canada must budget for expenses. I'm going to give you a case study of, I'm changing their name, let's call them the Smith family. And I just want to show you the issue that the Smith family is having. So they're 45 years old, both of them, husband and wife. They have 2 kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. They both work in the healthcare sector, okay? Their combined income is $124,000. So when you look at that, this family is going to hurt, because this $4,200 a month, if it just goes to taking care of the family, what happens to housing? What happens to everything else? Do you see why there's a gap? Do you see why the family is going to struggle? Why they end up in debt? Now, today, I want to talk about what's happening in the economy, right? You see all of the glory and the glitter and the glamour when it comes to Team Encore and people making, 14 grand in the last 3 months. And you look out of what's happening in the economy with all the layoffs and the debts and the taxes and the inflation and the income, and people have no hope. They're worried. They're concerned. All right. There was an article, it was published on February 4th. It says higher interest rates are here to stay until 2024. Till 2024, right? Some people are literally struggling with the way the interest rates are right now. And they're saying that it's not going to change until 2024. You might say, well, Jermaine, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is this. Higher interest rates, they have significant impact on, first of all, how people borrow money, okay? The cost of borrowing goes up. Mortgage rates goes up. Credit card interest rate goes up. Other kinds of debt to the consumer becomes more expensive. And it's a chain reaction, because this makes the monthly payments increase. And it puts a strain on the budget for people, their household budget. It makes it more difficult for Canadians to manage their finances. Higher interest rates, it also leads to people spending less. What happens if people spend less? The Canadians are going to become more cautious when it comes to taking on new debt, spending money. So what does that do? That reduces or decreases the economic growth. It also has an effect on the overall consumer confidence. Higher interest rates, it affects the housing market. You see what's happening. They make it more expensive for the Canadians to take out mortgages. And it slows down, and sometimes it reduces the home sales. Interest rates affects the Canadian dollar. How does it do that, Jermaine? Well, it makes exporting more expensive for foreign buyers, and it also makes the demand for Canadian products less. So it's very important that we understand what's happening with the interest rate. So you and all Canadians can adjust their financial strategies accordingly, and that they're well prepared for the impacts when it comes to the interest rates. Now, you look at income all around Canada. This was posted by Jobilico, it was for 2022, the average Canadian salary, annual salary, right? So in Nunavut was $82,853, right? The Northwest Territories, they were $81,000, okay? They were $81,000. Then you have the Yukon, right? Yukon Territory, they were $69,000. And Alberta, $65,000. This is the average salary, all right? Ontario, what was Ontario? If you live in Ontario, the average salary is $62,748. And then in Quebec, right? Our Quebec friends, the average salary was $58,149. Some people are looking at the call and saying, what does it take for me to move to Nunavut? If you're wondering where it is, you probably don't want to move there, okay? Just some advice. But this is the average salary. And why I'm showing you that, because I want to give you a case study of, I'm changing their name. Let's call them the Smith family. And I just want to show you the issue that the Smith family is having. So they're 45 years old, both of them, husband and wife. They have two kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. They both work in the healthcare sector, okay? Their combined income is $124,000, all right? So we just divided by 2, husband, 62,000, wife, 62,000, which is in line with the average income in Ontario. They have a mortgage remaining of $798,000, all right? They have outstanding debt of $34,000, and they have some savings put aside of around $33,000. This is what they have put aside to save, or saved already, all right? So this is the current situation that this family is in. Now you look at it and you say, well, you know, it's a typical situation. This, Jermaine, this is a situation most families are in. What is the issue? And the problem arises when we start to fast forward. So let's look at a couple of things here for a second, all right? Let's do some analysis. And I want you to do the same analysis for yourself. That means if you have a pen and paper, take it out, and I want you to do the same calculations and use the same methodology that I'm using on the Smith family. I want you to do the same thing for you, right? I did this exact same analysis for myself, right? And that's how I was able to fix a lot of the things that you're going to see is going to come up here. So the Smith family is 45 years old. They're targeting to retire at 65 years old. That's their target retirement date, like everyone else. Yeah, you can push it to, 71, but who wants to push it, right? Nobody wants to push their retirement. In fact, people want to retire earlier, not later, all right? So their retirement target is age 65. That means they have about 20 years that they need to work for, right? We call this the income generating years. These are the years that they're working, they're able to put money aside, they're able to work and create money, right? They're able to create wealth, generate money in their income years, because at 65, when they stop working, they can't generate any more income. But they're doing it to support themselves for the remaining 20 years, right? Life expectancy is around 85. So they're going to do it for these 20 years to support the income consuming years, because after age 65, they're not generating income anymore. Now they're consuming. Now they're using, right? They're using their nest egg, whatever they put aside. So the whole idea is they need to plan now for their retirement age. They haven't really started planning, right? Their $33,000 that they put in savings isn't really planning. That's just money they kind of saved, when they had it, they kind of put it aside. They weren't intentional. They just kind of did it if they could. All right. Now we have to figure out if their current career has enough horsepower. So remember, they're working in the healthcare sector, which is a decent paid sector, right? And we didn't calculate overtime and all of those things that they're doing. But you look at this. They need enough income. Enough income is required in order to support their consuming years. So let's look at it. $124,000 a year is what they're earning, right? Combined. But do they get to take that home? I was, when I visited the Cayman Islands last month, and, I was thinking every dollar that you earn there is tax-free. So if you earn $124,000 a year, that's what you see in your account. There's literally no such thing as income tax. So, but here in Canada, it doesn't work that way. You have to pay income tax. Now, on this kind of income, it's 34% each, right? On each person, it's 34%. So when you look at the after-tax dollars, they have $1.7 million remaining. That's, if you do the math, $7,407 remaining every single month. That's the income after tax that they can spend. Big mistake people make. They plan their life on the gross income. Never plan your life on the gross income. You want to plan it on the after tax dollars, the net income. All right. Now, here's the challenge. Average person in Canada needs around $4,500 a month. So you multiply that by 20 years, right? That's $1,080,000. Okay. Over $1 million is required in retirement. What's the challenge with that? Let's say that this family decides that they want to make sure their retirement is taken care of, because they don't want to depend on living in their children's, the care, or, they don't want to be a burden on their kids or anything like that. So they want to make sure their retirement's taken care of. What do they need to save in order to come up with $1 million in retirement? Let's say $1.1 million to round it off. They would need to save $3,200 a month. What? $3,200 a month? Who can afford to save $3,200 a month? Right? Who can afford to save that? So how much is it going to take for them to reach their retirement goal? They have to save $3,200. Look at it, right? They're keeping their $33,000 that they have. That's their initial investment. They have 20 years to grow. Rate of return is at 6%. Okay. That means what happens? Their money will grow to be $1.1 million after 20 years. Problem is what? They don't have $1.1 million. Why do I know that? Because if they subtract that $3,200 a month from their remaining $7,400 a month that they have left over, right? That means they have $4,207 a month to spend. That's what they have to spend. All right. That $4,200 a month to spend does not include housing or anything like this. Look at this. The cost of living for a family in Canada in 2023, it says here the average cost of raising a family of 4. Remember, the Smith family is a family of 4. They have 2 kids. Is $4,200 without housing. Are you hearing me? Without housing. All right. So renting a family-friendly apartment in cities like Toronto costs what? $3,000 per month. A family in Canada must budget for expenses like housing, food, health, childcare, transportation, education. This figure does not include the cost of owning a home or paying for expenses like clothing or recreation. So this $4,200 a month is not including their mortgage that they need to pay. Remember, I told you they have a what? They have a mortgage, right? Let's go back to their expenses. Remember, I said that this family has what? $798,000 mortgage they have to pay. They have $34,000 in debt that they have to pay. All right. So when you look at that, this family is going to hurt, because this $4,200 a month, if it just goes to taking care of the family, what happens to housing? What happens to everything else? Do you see why there's a gap? Do you see why the family is going to struggle? Why they end up in debt? Because it's just not enough, right? It's not enough. So many families, they get the bright idea of let's use our house for retirement. Have you ever heard those people? They say, well, I'm going to use the house that I have for retirement. That's what's going to supplement. That's what's going to be my retirement plan, because they didn't save any money. And this is what this family was thinking to do. This Smith family was thinking, okay, I have a house. If I just pay off the house, because it's $798,000, right? They're thinking to pay it off. If I pay off the house, then I don't have to worry. I can use that money later on. But here's the thing. You know what they're doing? They're doing reverse mortgages. February 6th, the Better Dwelling posted, Canadian seniors are racking up reverse mortgage debt at a rapid rate. Why would they be doing that? Because they can't afford to save $3,200. What is a reverse mortgage, you ask? a reverse mortgage, when I'm talking about Canada now, it basically allows the homeowners, they need to be 55 years or older, all right? They can borrow against their equity in their home without having to sell it or without having to make monthly payments. So the loan is actually repaid when the homeowner sells the property or passes away. And then the funds from the reverse mortgage, they can use that for any purpose, right? They can use it to, for healthcare. They can use it for retirement, supplementing their retirement. They can use it for whatever they want. But it's important to understand that the reverse mortgage has some impact. Number one, it's going to impact the amount of inheritance based on using all the equity that is left for the beneficiary. It's going to increase the debt that's owed on the property, right? So you see here, this another thing from the Better Dwelling. It says the Canadian reverse mortgage debt, a total reverse mortgage debt held by regulated financial institution in Canadian dollars. And it goes on to say Canadian seniors, because that's the only one that can get reverse mortgages, Canadian seniors, they owe $6.7 billion in reverse mortgage. I want you to hear me out a second. This wasn't a thing. Okay, this wasn't a thing before. All right. Canadian, there were reverse mortgages, but it wasn't this high. You guys understand what's happening here? Canadian seniors have been on a reverse mortgage borrowing spree. The outstanding balance rose 5.9%. So up $370 million, okay, to $6.7 billion in November. The balance is now 31% higher than the year before. It went up 1.6 billion than the year before. Compared to other debt segments, it's relatively small in total, but the growth rate makes it one of the fastest growing types of debt. Why do people do that? Why do people get a reverse mortgage? Well, they want to supplement their income, all right, their retirement income. So it's a way that people can supplement their retirement income. Why else would they do it, Jermaine? Well, there's no monthly payments. You just keep pulling out the equity out of the house. You don't need to repay it back. All right. So it's only going to be repaid later on if the person passes away or sells or something of that sort. Right. There's no impact on the government benefits. That's why they do it. Because it doesn't impact their old age security or their CCP or their guaranteed income supplement. They do it because they want access to their equity. They don't have to sell the house in order to get the equity, right? But there are some things that people need to look at. Number one, the inheritance is decreased. So the amount owed under reverse mortgage, it increases over time. And it decreases the amount of inheritance that's left for the homeowner. It increases the debt, right? So the debt on the property goes up and up and up, and that impacts the ability of the homeowner to sell the property or even to pass it on to their beneficiary. The other thing people need to look at is the higher costs. Reverse mortgages, they have a higher upfront cost than traditional mortgages. So you got to do appraisal fees, legal fees, a mortgage insurance premium. All these things need to be done. And then the equity goes down. So borrowing against the home, when you use the reverse mortgage, it reduces the homeowner's equity. And that also impacts their ability to sell it, right? So this is not the ideal situation, but people are doing it. I want you to see here, Yahoo Finance. It says 45%. Look at the catch-22 here. 45% of people with variable mortgages say they would have to sell in under 9 months because they're feeling the pressure with the high interest rates, right? So on one side, we have people might not even be able to keep their home to use it for the reverse mortgage later on. It's a bad situation.